check the assignment. I think we did together the first 3 points, right? The first one was the total number of users in 2024. We checked month by month. Um, then we were checking the second question that it was related to sales. We checked the third question as well. That is was also it was the country one, or I forgot the order that we were checking. So let's do it all together again so you can understand if you were doing something wrong. And then, as I mentioned, I will explain another way of doing this so we can start um, checking different parts of analytics. So if you guys can read the questions for me, please. Haley, can you start from the third one, please? So this one was pretty easy. I think all of you got it pretty fast. You guys know that we had to start from January. Be careful with the dates because if you don't change the dates, it's going to be much harder for you to have the right answer because the dates is basically the dates of the data. So be careful always with the dates. Where I can find views, in which report I can find the views. Hmm? Maho, where I can find the views. Remember that you guys have a quiz on Wednesday, right?
Oh,
Engagement. Engagement. The overview. You guys get from here, right? We can change the dates. But if we want to see it by page, we can go to pages, right? And you will be seeing views on the top 5 pages. So remember, every action has to be categorized, right? That's why we were seeing acquisition, that's why we were seeing engagement, monetization, retention, because each action is categorized. So you need to remember where to look for the information. Okay? Again, you have a quiz on Wednesday, and it's going to be an exercise. So in that sense, please study the concepts. Please understand where to look for the information. I'm going and I'm telling you in the quiz, I'm not going to tell you exactly the word. I can tell you visitors. You need to understand that a visitor is a user, right? I can change the words for you to think. I'm not going to give you go and check this. No, I can't change the meaning. So you have to think, oh, what might be that? That might be a view, that might be users, that might be that. The important thing of this is understanding, not again learning how to click. Is that you understand what is behind it, understanding the concept. So why do you think for us it's important to understand the top 5 pages in terms of views? Hmm? What is a view? Yuta, what is a view?
How many people
go to the website and then see view the web page.
How many users are viewing our content, right? So what will be the importance of understanding the views? Why do you think it's important for us to track the number of views that we're getting? Hmm? Uh-huh. Remember that when you guys are analyzing, the analysis depends on you. What is important to you, or not just to you, like what is the importance for the company, right? If it's an e-commerce, which type of pages they should be having on their top? Probably the selling pages, right? Because the main purpose is that people is actually viewing the products. But if you see mainly, if they're mainly here in the homepage, that's fine because they're coming through the home. Then we have the checkout. That's pretty good because they're actually viewing the checkout. So they're viewing the checkout. We need then to see if they're actually purchasing. Because one thing is just checking the checkout, the other thing is actually checking out, right? So these help us to understand the behavior of the users. What are they actually doing? What are they viewing? So we can compare. So we can analyze the behavior. So we use this to track behavior. If I let me show you something. I have been showing you the website of the veterinary clinic, so you understand the website, right? I'm going to show you the analytics of that account. One second, because this account is in Spanish. Mm. So why I was asking for why I was talking about the views? Because I told you when we were seeing SEO that when we build a website, we have to be very careful and we need to understand the flow that we want to, um, basically the user experience and how we want them to flow from one page to the other, right? I told you that we need to guide them towards specific pages. In the case of the veterinary clinic, when we were building the website, our main purpose was basically to have new users. Why? Because once they become customers, they don't need to go back to the website. They go directly to the place, right? So for us, the most important part was targeting new users. Second, as a new user, for us was important for them to understand first the services, second the about us, and third that they contact us. So all the flow that I added to this website and all the blog posts, everything that I did was basically to take them to the services, to take them to the contact us, and to take them to the about us. Those are my top three pages. Oh, fourth if I add the homepage, right? So home, about, contact, and services. For this website, it's a little bit different. It's because we don't have a specific service page. I put the main services on the home, So that's why the home has more relevance as well. But we will see the services as individual services, right? So you don't see a category services. So for me, it's very important to track month to month the actual pages that they're seeing. So first, they're seeing the homepage, right? So that's good for me. Second, they're seeing the about us, good for me. Third, they're seeing the contact us, good for me. So the flow until there is working fine. They're seeing the pages that I want them to see. The problem is that then, or not the problem because this is a blog post. This is a very popular blog post on the page. I don't know why, but it's very popular on these specific dates. Let me put the results of the whole year. This is real data. This is coming from the veterinary clinic website. Okay, so this is real. Okay, now it's working better for me. They are going to the homepage. Let me show you the website. So I told you that for me, or what I do usually is that the menu, how I organize the menu, is the relevance that I give to the pages. Homepage, the most important. Then for me, the most important part are the actual services. Then I will go in this way. Pharmacy, it's important is because it's an extended service. That's why we have it like that. And then we have the about us and the contact us, and the last part is the blog. For me, the blog is not that relevant in the sense that if they read it or not, I don't really care. For me, the objective is that they see the services and then they go and contact the company, right? So I organize the flow of the website in this way, and if you see how I structure the homepage is in the same way, right? Hero section, then services, then should be the pharmacy, then should be the about us, then the contact us, and that's pretty much it, right? Why I do it in that way? Because those are the pages that I want them to read, right? That's the content that I want them to be viewing. So with analytics, I'm able to track if they're actually viewing those pages or what is the content that they're viewing. That's the importance of what we are analyzing. That's why I was telling you last week, I need you to read the content, the context behind the merchandise store so you can relate the topics, right? I'm showing you and I will show you more of my clients for you to see it with examples, how is the behavior of the users, right? But I need you to understand what we are analyzing and the meaning of those things that we're saying, right? Why I'm asking you those things. So if we go back, they're coming through the homepage. They're going to the about us. They're going to the contact us. And this alternative medicine is one of the services. That is fine. They're going through the same pages that I want them to see. But this page should have more views than this one in my flow, in how I want them to go. But that they're seeing the about us help me to understand the behavior of the users because probably before going to a new veterinary clinic, they need to understand who is the doctor. That's probably normal. Before they check the services, they check the doctor. So they're checking the doctor, they're checking the contact us, and they're checking the services. That means that the flow, how we are connecting the internet links, how we are connecting uh, the website, everything in that sense is guiding them towards the pages that I want them to see. Okay? That's the importance of the views. because we can understand what content are they actually viewing. If we go back to our merchandise store, we need to understand the same process. What we want them to read. What is the most important part of the content that we want them to be viewing at, right? We want users viewing these specific parts of the website. So we need to check, we need to analyze the behavior. They're mainly viewing the homepage. They're mainly viewing the checkout. Mainly viewing the shop. So the new products, the apparel for men, and the apparel as a general category, right? So this is just telling us categories. We'll have to see if we can get more data in terms of the specific pages, which products are they actually seeing? Because here we cannot see any specific product. Maybe this one, bags. So maybe the bags are a popular product. Maybe the drinkware are the top products, per se products, right? So they're just going through the categories. They're analyzing the categories, but they're not seeing mainly the specific products. So in this case, this gives us a hint of what might be the most popular products. Okay, in that sense. We can, when we are analyzing these things, we have to mix the metrics. Remember that these are metrics, numbers, and these are dimensions, right? So when we analyze the metrics, you need to understand how these metrics are connected. Why we're measuring views? Well, I already explained the views. Why we're measuring active users? Because we need to understand, okay, how many views we have per user. That means how many times one user is actually viewing that content, right? Because you can have, look, 300,000, almost 400,000 users, active users, and we have almost 2 million views. So if you see, they are viewing in average 4.69 pages per session. So in that sense, we have an idea of their behavior. They're moving from one place to another. Another important metric here is the engagement time. So they're viewing in each session, in average, almost 5 pages, right? 4.6. But in terms of time, they're spending on the website 1 minute and 8 seconds. Do you know the average engagement time for an e-commerce? Per session? Search. Alexis, tell me the average engagement time in an e-commerce per session. Please. How much? 1 to 3 minutes in average?
Just stop 3 to 5 minutes and mobile 1.5 to 3 minutes.
So imagine in average, like we can say for both will be 3 minutes. If we have both devices, in average it's 3 minutes. So in that sense, we are below the average, right? We have users only 1 minute on our website. What you can do in 1 minute on an e-commerce? That's the thing, right? Because if it's on a blog, in 1 minute you can check the content. You can read at least one page and that's it. You don't need to stay a very long time. Or in the veterinary clinic, you go, you check the doctor, see the contact form, and that's it. So the experience is faster. But in an e-commerce that you spend 1 minute, how many things can you purchase in 1 minute? And if it's a new website, it's the first time that you're here, what can you purchase in 1 minute? Nothing, probably. So in that sense, we have to understand what is going on with these views. So we have to start seeing, okay, so they're actually viewing the pages, but what's going on? In that sense, we have to start checking which pages are they staying. So in the checkout, they're staying for 2 minutes. Why would you say 2 minutes on a checkout? Then the checkout should be fast. 1 minute, I think, is fine. You just click checkout and that's it. Because it starts the process of checking out. So in that sense, that's why Google Analytics is so relevant because we have to start seeing everything. What is the behavior? How can we start doing some testing? How can we check and analyze and change the behavior of the users to make everything faster? Because what we want is that they click, check, check one thing, add it to the shopping cart, and that's it, right? Check out. So the user experience, something is happening in the user experience of the website that is not like, or the product sucks basically, or something is happening that is not guiding the users towards the action that we're expecting. Haley, can you read the next question? So we just look through it. The next one. Yeah, because the verification time, 1 minute, 8 seconds. So this one was pretty easy. This one was pretty easy. Uh, I think I did it on Wednesday. I'm just doing it for you to remember, but I did it on Wednesday. So I'm just going to the overview. I'm just going to the overview of users. I will filter by countries. We already have the last 6 months. So we know that the top country is the US, so you guys already knew. I'm going to add the city again, just to add the filter for you to remember how to add the filter. So I'm going to add the filter for the US. I will click apply. So we have the top cities, US, Aspen, New York, Mountain View, right? But remember that when something that is very important when we're doing this analysis is that be careful how you filter in the sense that here we are filtering through active users. That doesn't mean that these people are actual clients. We're just filtering by people who are doing something on the website. Remember that an active user is someone that is doing actions, right? They are triggering 2 or more events, or they have been spending 10 or more seconds doing actions. If they don't do anything, they're not active users. Remember the difference. I explained the 3 or the 4 different types of users that we have, right? So here we're talking about in terms of users. But if I told you, in this case, I want to know how, like, from which city are we getting the highest number of new users, the question changed. So here we will have to filter by new users, right? So in this case, it's the same. The result is the same. It will be Aspen and New York, but in some other cases, it might change. What can you notice here from these numbers? Just the first one. Check New York, Aspen in terms of active users and in terms of new users. What are you seeing? Mhm. So if the number is very similar, like Julia was mentioning, the difference is like 40 people, 40, 50 people, right? That means that most of the users that have come in the last 6 months are new users. So that is something that we need to understand. In the last 6 months, how many returning visitors we have? How many new users we're having? So we can compare it. I told you last week that it's important for us to understand the behavior of the users. And according to that behavior, we can change the strategies because it's not the same uh, selling phones that I'm selling phones constantly to new users because I don't sell phones to the same person all the time, right? To selling groceries. When you have something like Walmart, you're expecting people to come back. So we need to understand the model of the merchandise store. Probably they're targeting more new users than returning ones. Probably the products are more to create that awareness of the brand. So they're focusing on promoting, 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 promoting. So in that sense, we can tell if the strategy is working or not because they're focusing on what. Usually we focus on a specific target, as we have been seeing in the other courses, right? Are we focusing on which target audience? So in this case, that means that most of the users coming from Aspen are new users, right? If we move, what are you seeing now in terms of revenue? Do you think having the highest number of active users in Aspen is actually relevant for the company? Yeah, they have a bunch of people coming from Aspen, but no one is buying. Zero revenue coming from those users. Zero money coming from those users. So in that sense, that's why I'm telling you, be careful when you are planning a campaign because yes, you can start going after everyone and probably you are going to be seeing active users. That's fine. But at the end, this is an e-commerce. What you want is to sell, right? And if you're focusing on new users, that means that those ones that didn't purchase, the probability of them actually purchasing is very low because they are just here for the first time. They were checking the products. It's not my thing. Boom, and they close. How can I know as well? If you compare the number of key events, I told you for this page, the key events were uh, viewing an item, adding a product to the cart, and the action of purchasing. They had those three main key events, right? If you see the difference, it's huge. 644 compared to 20,000 with the second one. And the second one has less users than the first one. So that means probably they launched a promotion in Aspen or they were doing something in Aspen, but people were not actually doing anything. They went to the website, but more than that, they were gone, right? So in that sense, that's why the revenue is zero. If you see the performance in terms of the user by key event is really low, so they divide the number of key events and the number of users, right? So that's why I need you to start related things. Is it good for us, not for us, but for the merchandise store to have the top ones in Aspen if they're not actually purchasing? Is that good for the company? Will you run a campaign again in Aspen? Those are the questions that you need to start seeing. Okay, what is going on? What might be wrong in terms of Aspen? So we'll have to check. We'll have to check the interest of those users. Probably they are not into technology or they are not into Google. We don't know. We will have to go farther, right, to understand the behavior. But for now, what we can tell is that, yeah, most of the users in the last 6 months are coming from Aspen, but they are not doing anything. So that's not something very good for Aspen. Okay. Uh, so I think in this one I already did the fifth one and the next one. The city, we already did it.
How are our sales in the last 6 months?
For the sales, I think most of you just went to monetization and you guys were seeing the revenue, right? We have to be careful when we are analyzing the merchandise store in terms of the metrics. Please pay attention to what I'm going to say. Because on analytics, there are different ways of measuring revenue. Okay? We have total revenue. What is total revenue? When we talk about total revenue, we're talking about revenue coming from purchases. So when we're selling products, we're including the revenue coming from ads. So if we're doing, I don't know, a display or we are doing something else on the website, we can collect that money, right? And we can include the money that we're making for subscriptions. So total revenue includes the revenue of all the different ways that I can collect money from. Okay, that's total revenue. So if we want to track the revenue coming from the products, we use purchase revenue. Purchase revenue is basically the money generated by products. Remember, total revenue, subscriptions, and we add the ads, the display. Okay, that's the main difference. Why the number is the same? Because they are not having any ads or they don't have any price for subscriptions. That's why the numbers are the same. So in this case for us, if we use total revenue or we use purchase revenue, is the same for this specific website. But if in the future you are working and you see that the numbers are different, that's the difference, right? Total revenue includes all the different ways that we collect money. Purchase revenue just through sales. Okay. When we are analyzing the income, what do you think is important to understand when we are analyzing our sales? What do you think is important to mention from our sales? Karen,
Can you repeat the question?
you have to pay attention. What is important to track from our sales? When you're analyzing sales, what is important? Just the number or what else?
Where they come from?
In what sense?
Like area, country,
Mhm. So from which country are we having? Yeah, that's something that we have to consider. So In which country are we having more sales? What else we can analyze? What else is important to track? Jenny, from the income, what else is important to track? Ah, the same. If we are analyzing the income, what is important to understand for us? Karen was mentioning from where are our sales to the country. What else is important for us to analyze when we're talking about sales? Any ideas? I'm not expecting that you guys know. Gender could be important,
The
yes.
profit rate.
So, sorry?
The profit rate.
So the margin that we're getting, so the profits, yes. The gender, right?
Geographic. Psychographic behavior.
So the age. So we can start analyzing more things. Because we were seeing on Wednesday that, yeah, we know that most of the income is coming from the US, but who is purchasing? Who is purchasing in the US? From which cities? It's more, our target is more males or females, right? Which product is the one that is bringing the margin? Because one thing is how many units we have been selling, and another thing is the money that that is bringing to the company. It's totally different selling 1 million of the Google stickers than selling 1,000 Google bikes, right? So in that sense, is that why we have to go and analyze the, the income in a different way. I'm not going to do it right now because there is an exercise for that. You guys are going to be analyzing the income of the merchandise store, so we can analyze that deeper. Okay. The next question, Haley, please.
Tell me the demographics of our customers, gender, age, interests in the last 6 months.
Okay, so I will go to users. I'm going to filter by gender. But there is one part of that question that is very important. That in the question it said, tell me the demographics of our customers, right? What is a customer? So if it's an active user, it's someone that has been doing things, but we don't know if they actually purchase, right? But when we say, and when we're talking about customers, someone that they have been our customer, we already sold them something, right? So we have to understand that not seeing like, not because you're organizing it by active users, these ones are customers.
Oh.
If we move, we have the revenue here. So in that sense, we can understand that if we have more income coming from males than from females, right? We can understand it, who is actually purchasing. So in this sense, I'm just filtering by gender, but I'm going to include the age. Because if I change, if I add the age, you guys are going to be seeing some differences. So I'm going to filter the unknown, right? In this case, because I want to exclude the unknowns, not only include it, exclude the unknowns, we have to use does not contain or does not exactly match, right? That's the difference um, case. I'm going to use does not exactly match because the values are going to be much easier to find. If it doesn't work, I'll use the other one. It's taking too long, so I'm going to add the value. So as I was mentioning, we have to type it right exactly. So if it has a capital letter, you have to do it with the capital letter.
Oh, okay.
Because if you see, for example, if I use it in a wrong thing, in a wrong way, it's not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to apply the filter. So as you can see, now we added the filter. But if we see it from the perspective of active users, because right now we're seeing it from the perspective of active users. Mainly we have active users that are males between 18 to 24, right? That's our top audience. But that doesn't mean that those are the ones actually purchasing. So we have to be careful. You want to target people who are viewing things but are not buying, or you want to focus on people who are buying mainly your products? Who is your actual target audience? That's up to us, how we manage the situation. If we want to go after more money, or you want to create more awareness so in the future they can purchase. The problem in this case is that mainly we're targeting new users. So the probability of them coming back is really low. So in that sense, we have to go, in my opinion, after money. So if we scroll and I organize it by the revenue, look how it changed. The group that is actually purchasing the most in terms of revenue are females in their ages of 25 to 34. Those ones are generating more money than the other groups. So you can see the difference. One thing is volume. Yeah, we have more males, we have more young audiences, 18 to 24. But at the end of the day, we have more females from these ages purchasing. If you compare with the males of the same age, the income is similar. The number of users probably no. I can scroll. So imagine they have way more income with less number of active users. So that means that these females are very, very high value for the company. So why are they buying? That's another analysis. Probably they're buying gifts, they're buying something for someone. Because the store, mainly the products are more for males. But we have to see what are they actually buying, what are the products that the users are buying. But you see, all the analyses that we're doing are different. So here, what I want you is that you can understand all these things. But it's a process. That's why we're going to be doing so many different exercises. Okay? We will analyze a lot of things from the merchandise store, and I will put you some examples with the clients that I'm having. Okay? Any question with the exercise? Clear? I think the last question is just the retention rate. For the retention rate, I told you that we go to retention. So we have the number of returning users, we have the number of new users, so we can divide it, and in that way we have the retention rate, right? If you guys analyze this, the different graphics that they are showing you, we have to be careful. We need to understand what are they saying, those metrics, okay? If you see this one, what they do is that they are comparing the last 42 days. And they are saying from the users that came in the day zero, how many are coming back. So they are comparing a day zero with the next 42 days to understand the behavior of the users in those days. And they give you a percentage of users that are actually staying. So in the first 5 days, only 0.4 came back. So no one is actually coming back. If you compare the day 40, it's less than 0.1. So it's zero. In 42 days, we don't have returning users. In 42 days, we don't have returning users. So these things help us to understand the strategy. As I was mentioning, based on the revenue, we can tell they were targeting new users. But now if we see the behavior of the users, we understand that they're targeting mainly new users. Why? Because they don't have people coming back, right? So in that sense, we need to understand this metric. If we see this one and you see all the different things, here what we are analyzing, it's from the dates, from the different dates that we have, we're going to be analyzing the engagement. So we are comparing the engagement through dates. If you see here, we are comparing, I think it's Wednesday, March the 12th, and we are comparing in terms of daily, day 7, day 30, and day 1. So they compare those dates in terms of the user engagement. This is by cohort. Remember that a cohort is when we group according to dates, right? So I can say this is Wednesday, March 12th. So people that came 6 or 7 days ago, people that were grouped in that specific day, 1 month ago and 1 day, day 1. So that day. And we do it to understand and to compare according to the different cohorts, what's going on in terms of engagement. This one is the user engagement, but this one is in terms of the last 42 days. So we can track which day we had the highest average engagement. So it's in the day 35 that we had 3 minutes and 26 seconds. If the average is 1.08, that day was really high compared to the average, right? And this is in terms of value, but I'm not going to explain this one. This one I will explain it later. If not, you might get confused. Because when we talk about value, we have to understand first other things. And I think that was pretty much the first exercise, right? The quiz is going to be similar. The quiz is going to be similar. Remember that the quiz has 2 parts, practical and theoretical. So for the practical part, it's very similar to what you guys did. The only thing is that I'm going to change words. That's why I want you to understand is what we are analyzing. Because I'm not going to tell you new users or things like very exact things. Tell me the number of active users. No. I'm going to use another word. Someone who has purchased. Someone who has purchased is what? Right? So you need to understand the meaning of things. For this quiz, because usually I explain and I give you some things. For this one, I'm just going to help you. I want to see how you guys do. Okay? That's why I'm giving you the time to ask me all the questions. If you need something, that's today and tomorrow, so we can understand it. Okay? Wednesday. So you will have, they have class, you will have. Okay, so no questions, right? No one? You guys are good? Okay, so I'm going to show you a different way of doing the same exercise. I will do it in a different way that for me is faster. So we're going to start checking the explore techniques. Okay? So I'm going to click here in explore, and I'm going to click first freeform. So this is an example that they're giving us, but I'm going to erase everything. Okay, so let me explain first the different parts of the freeform, and then we can just go and see the exercise. So what is this? What is this part of the explore techniques? Basically, the reports that we were seeing are reports that Google Analytics is already giving us everything, right? But sometimes I want to have deeper analysis. I want to correlate things. I want to be able to add specific things, but we can't. We can't because it's predefined. Here in the free form, we're going to be able to add more things to the table. So we can include different things and we can have one report. So we can create our own custom report. By default, when we use the free form or any of the exploration techniques, we can share with somebody else, but they're going to be able only to see as a viewer. If you want something else, you have to change the configuration, but as any of the Google tools, when you share something on a spreadsheet, the default thing is that you share that as a viewer only. Okay? That one is the worst because it's unique.
Yeah. It's annoying, very annoying.
Yeah, I hate it. Okay, so from the tool, what we need to understand here is where we change the date. So I'm going to use for now this year calendar just to show you. So here we can change the dates. It's the same calendar, right? Here we have a second option that is called segments. What is a segment? It's a group of people that we create. So we can create the segments. And we create the segments so we can compare or we can see the data coming only from those groups that we're creating. An example, if I want to see the information coming only from groups of people from the US, I can include the segment US users. So you will only see data coming from the US users, right? But I'm not going to add anything for the segment so far. I will show you later how we use it. The second column that you see here, it's called the dimensions. And why I'm doing this from today? Because this part is, for me, the most important part of understanding analytics. We are going to be analyzing the dimensions and the metrics. Google Analytics is organized by dimensions and metrics. That means that if you click here in the plus, look how many options we have for things to analyze. When we are, I'm going to close all the categories. In terms of dimensions, remember that when we see the tables, when you see the reports, when you see the reports, all the reports are organized in labels, right? And numbers. So the dimensions are those labels. Dimensions are non-numerical values, right? An example, country. Country, it's a label that we use to categorize the different countries that they are coming from. But if I ask you average engagement time, that is not a label, that's a number, right? Average engagement time is a metric, it's not a dimension. So we need to understand that in every question that I'm asking you, first read it and understand what is a dimension and what is a metric. Because you need to understand how you're going to be calling that data. Okay? So here, if you guys want to use the free form, you need to be able to understand how we call specific things. If I ask you, I don't know, tell me the events and how many times they have been active. You need to understand the dimension and the metric to see the events and to see the number of events, right? So that's what we're going to be doing here. We have to understand how they are categorized and all the options that we have. So if you see all the dimensions, they have a specific category. Today is the worst day, right?
Yeah, it's
It's
more.
really loud. Oh,
And it's happening more times.
I think it's because they are having a new thing downstairs. A new logo,
Yeah, it's
a new
in. Yeah, I
business.
think it's the next one.
Yeah.
I saw it. Yeah.
Anyway, when we are talking about the dimensions, again, dimensions, the labels, the non-numerical values, right? You guys need to understand how to categorize. Here, they give us some categories. We know the demographics, age, gender, interest, right? Those are demographics. So if you want to add the age, the gender, or the interest, you can come here to the category demographics and you can add the ones that you want to add. Right? And that's it. How we add it? We can click in compare, and now you have here the gender and you have the age. So you can start playing with those dimensions. But there are almost 200 dimensions. So understanding which one to use is when it becomes really hard. The demographics are very simple, very easy. But open, if you guys are following me, open e-commerce, please. If you open e-commerce, you guys see that we have a dimension called category, currency, item affiliation, item brand, item category, item coupon, item ID, item list ID, right? So we use these ones, any of these ones, when we want to track something related to the e-commerce. But we have to be careful because as you see here, items, right? Item name. So for example, what is the item name? Item name means the name of the product, but they're calling it here item. What is the name of the product? So if you add the item name, you'll be seeing the name of that specific product. Something really useful from the free forum or from any of the Explorer techniques is that if you step on any of the dimensions or the metrics, you will be seeing the explanation. So you understand what are you going to be seeing, right? The problem is that, look, now what do you have here? Product name. So what is the difference between product name and item name? What is the difference between session channel and user channel? So there are some definitions that we need to start understanding. And remember this, for all the classes, for if we're talking about the merchandise store, don't use anything related to products. We only use items. So we're going to be using item name, item revenue, everything related with items. We don't use products. Why we don't use products? Because it's not working. I don't know how they were categorizing the products or something happened, but we're only able to call it from the item name. I think they were testing between items and products, but we're going with items. Okay? So if I ask you, tell me the products with the highest sales, you have to come and add item name. Okay? So we have dimensions in terms of attribution. We have dimensions for games. We have dimensions for demographics. We have dimensions for a bunch of things. Oh, let me first tell you the categories so you have an understanding of how they are grouping. And then we're going to be doing an exercise of dimensions and metrics. I'm going to explain just the dimensions because the metrics are organized in the same way. They have some other categories, but they're very similar. So, again, remember, we are collecting data, right? We are collecting data. But to create a report, we have to categorize the data according to the meaning of that number or the meaning of that label. So here in the dimensions and the metrics is basically how we categorize. Here what we are seeing is how they're organizing that data. This is how they categorize all those labels and numbers that they're collecting. Okay? So when we talk about attribution, as I mentioned, I think on Wednesday, when we talk about attribution, we're grouping data that it's going to give us something from the channels or things related to whom we should be giving the credit in order to get that key event. Remember that attribution, when we talk about attribution, we are talking about we have a key event, an example, a purchase. We need to be giving credit to a specific channel. So according to the attribution model, we attribute credit for that conversion, right? So here we will find things related to attribution. We're not going to touch this part because this is a little bit more complicated, a little bit more advanced. Okay? Custom dimensions, things that you create, key events, but those are custom, those are yours. So don't use anything in the custom section. Why? Because we don't know what they're tracking. We have no idea. This is custom. They created that. We don't know. If you use what they have here, you don't know what you're tracking. It could be a specific UTM, you see, UTM, content, UTM, but we don't know. Those are custom definitions. Then we have the demographics that I already showed you. We have the e-commerce, again, everything related to the e-commerce section. So name of the products, name of the item list, names. Because here we're not talking about numbers. The dimensions are not numbers. It's just labels that we use. Okay? So if I ask you anything related to e-commerce, probably you will have to come here to find it. We have the events. So here, if you open the events, you're going to be seeing basically event name, that is the name of that action, and you're going to be seeing it's a key event. A key event, relevant action. So in that sense, we can call all the different events. In gaming, we have gaming is because you can have a game on your website. You could have a game. So in that sense, we can track specific things from those games. The characters, the names, the levels. So we can track specific things from games. In the general category, we have dimensions that we cannot, that is hard to categorize. So there are just dimensions that they couldn't categorize. An example, we have a dimension that is very important for us, that is search term. Search term help us to understand what are they searching on the website. When you see the search bar, we extract the keywords that they're searching so we can know what they're searching. It's a very nice way to understand the behavior of our users. Geography, so you have the cities, right? The continent, country, regions, all those kind of things. You guys are going to be seeing that we have city, city ID, continent, continent ID. That ID is a specific classification that we have for the country. I don't know, for example, for country, the country is US and the ID, and the country is United States, right? And the ID is US. The country is Japan, the user ID JP. Okay, so it's an ID that we're giving for the cities, for the countries. So it's how we are giving those specific labels. But here you will find that all related to the geographic things. Here in links, we have the links basically to classify if you're including links, right? If I want to track specific links that we're adding, so we can find the class of that link. This is more for coding, to understanding the link classes, but we can track the link domain, for example. That's something that we have done for our SEO. Other is also other ones that we don't classify. In this case, we have the organic Google search query. That one is coming from Search Console. So we can track what are they searching, what the users are searching on Google. That one is not from Analytics, it's from Search Console. In pages and screen, well, we can see everything related to the pages. The name of the page, right? The landing pages. We can see the location of the page. So everything related to pages. Page title, all those things. In terms of platform and device, you guys are going to be seeing basically the device, if they're using desktop, if they're using laptops, whatever they're using. We can check the brands because here we can see the brands, the languages that they're using for that specific device, the model of the device. So here, everything related to the devices, what we use. Okay. Here in Publisher, it's mainly something that we can add about the source of the ads. Look, if you see here the ad source, So the source network that serve as the typical include, we don't really use much this publisher part, but it's something that we have. Time, I like time because in terms of time, we can add dates, so we can add a specific day, we can add a specific month, we can add hours. So if I tell you, oh, we had a very high peak of users in September 26th, tell me our best hour. We can come here today and we can add that day and the hours. So we can check the active users per hour. So we can go and analyze more specific things. We will do that exercise. Traffic source. This one is very important for us. Traffic source is what we were seeing in acquisition. So remember that I told you, if you see session, everything is related to those sessions. If you see first user, because you can divide it in sessions, but then you have first user, so many session things. Here we have first user. We're talking about a user perspective. Remember that we have three scopes: user, session, and event. So when we use first user at anything, we're talking about a user perspective, and it's mainly bringing data from the first time that they became users. Session, we count all the different sessions. And users, if we have an option, and from the event side, you guys are not going to be seeing anything. It's just the name of the dimension. In this case, we're mainly seeing first user, sessions, and that's it. Okay. So as you can see, we have so many options for everything. That's why I'm telling you it's really hard sometimes to categorize or understand what we want. Then we have user. In terms of user, we can understand basically from the dimension perspective is if it's we have an audience, the name of that specific audience that we have created. If it's a new or established user, so what is a new slash established? So new users that first opened your app or visited your website within the last 7 days. Established users first opened the app or visit the website more than 7 days ago. So we're comparing returning users with the new users in a way. Okay? Then we have the user lifetime. So I'm not going to touch these ones yet, but when we're talking about lifetime, we're going to be seeing that we have a specific dimensions and specific metrics to calculate the value of people. So I will explain lifetime and all these ones later with an exercise. And we have video. If we want to know the name of the video or whatever related to the videos that we're including. I'm going to close it for a second. If you guys click on metrics and you click here in the plus, you will see the same categories, but now from the metrics. Remember, all the metrics is different because you see the number, right? The dimension is the name, the tag that we use to categorize those non-numerical values, and the metrics, you will see the number. So usually we need a dimension and a metric to have a result. If not, it's very hard to find some. So I'm going to be doing the exercise that we did on Wednesday with this free form, and then I will give you an exercise for you guys to start understanding the different dimensions and metrics. Okay? So let's go to the break, and when we come back, we have one exercise and then we will continue because that exercise is very short. Okay. So, Ellie, you have the questions, please. The first, the exercise that we did on Wednesday, the same ones that we were talking about. I know the first one. The first one is the number of users in 2024, right? In this case, we can use total users. So look what I'm going to be doing. To add a metric or add a dimension, I can just click here in the plus. If I know the one that I want, I can just type it, right? Or if I have an idea, these filters help us. So sometimes if we don't know the dimension or the metric, but we know that we want something called coming from sessions, so I can type session, right? And I can see all the metrics in this case that are talking about sessions. So we can use filters, we can use different things to find the right metric that we want to use. So in this case, I'm going to be using total users. Why total users? Because I told you we can use total users to understand all the users of 2024, not only the active. We have one limitation in the preform is that we have to use a specific date. If we use dates that they don't have data, we're not going to be able to see anything. So I'm going to select the data from May 14th of 2024 all until December, right? Click and apply. So this is the total number of users, okay? But I told you I want to know what's going on month by month, right? To see the highest peak. So in the previous or what we did in the report is that you guys were seeing month by month, right? So you can compare. This one, as I was telling you, we can add the dimension month, right? If I add the dimension month, what is going to happen is that the tool is going to give me month by month what is happening. So now we have May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. So now we can compare right away. We don't have to go month by month. Just here, I know exactly the number of users, of total users per month. So it's much faster, right? And if you guys were comparing, the question was if we have more users in July than in August, right? So here you can compare. We can compare all the months.
Um, when I search it here, I don't see any results because I don't have like data to analyze.
What? Where?
I'm trying to search like dimensions or month or month and nothing.
Remember that that's a metric. You're going for metrics.
Yes.
Month is a dimension.
Okay, but session is metric, right?
Session, that depends because you have session, default channel. There's different ways that you can use about sessions. If you see views per session, in that case that's a metric.
What I'm trying to find is like the same words you're trying to find as well. Or
No, that one is not going to show anything. It's because yours is in Spanish. So but the translation is not the same because it's in Spanish. You have to know the words so you can understand probably in Spanish, session is sesión, so you have to search sesión.
And I will try to, if I want it to be in English, I have to go to my.
Your account and change the language. Got it? No? What? Seeing what? Try again. I know that it's an internal problem, so refresh the. Okay, so here we have the first question, right? We have all the different users. The second question was related to what? Okay, so here I have users. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to add gender right away. I'm going to use age.
You just click on gender to add it on the right side.
We can double click or we can drag it.
Oh, double click. Okay.
Oh, because I forgot. Wait, I forgot to explain this part, right? So what we have here is how we visualize the data. Here is how we visualize the data, so we can see it as a donut chart. We have different ways of visualizing the data. Here in segment comparison is that you can add the segments, and in that way you will be comparing both segments. In rows, we can add the dimensions as rows or as columns. Rows or columns are for dimensions, and then we have the values. In the values, we will only have methods. That's how we organize the table. If you, I don't know, but in your life you ever use a dynamic table of Excel, it's very similar, it's the same. We drag the items to the table, so it works in a very similar way. If you prefer organizing something as a column, you just need to drag it. Let's say that I want the country as a column. So now I have here the gender, and then the country will be like this. That is basically how you organize the data. So my suggestion when you're adding a bunch of dimensions, for example, country, city, we have to organize it from the ones that have more data to the ones that has less data. What I mean with this is that country is bigger than probably the gender. So the gender is included in the country, right? Because in that sense, we can add some filters so we can start seeing the numbers in a different way.
Why I see gender and age as unknown?
Because here, they're first organizing by the non-sets, like basically by the alphabetic order. So you see non-sets.
How you see the non-set? I cannot.
It's just how it's organized, but I'm going to erase all those
Oh,
numbers.
because I don't see not set.
Probably yours starts with Argentina.
Hmm?
It should start, but that doesn't really matter. I'm going to add a filter here by countries first.
Oh yeah.
So here we can add the filters. So filter. I'm going to create
Where
a filter
when can we add the filter?
below values,
Oh, okay.
and I'm going to go with does not contain the expression non-set. Click on apply. So now I erase all the non-sets from country. I can do the same for city.
First you did it with which one?
First, I did it with country.
Country and then with city does not contain. Okay, country.
So I'm just adding filters to plot the data from the cities and the countries, right? But this is not giving us much. It's organized in an alphabetic order. So if I organize it properly, we will be having that in terms of total users, we mainly have people from the US. So first it's organized by the first row, right? Is the US. Then it goes for city, then it goes for month, then it goes for a bunch of things. I'm going to erase the month here because I don't want to have it month by month. In that case, I will have a lot of data. So I will go with the US. In terms of gender, I can create a filter to erase the nonsense. Gender. Condition does not contain unknown. Where? I'm just creating filters to erase the nonsense and the unknown. Yep, here. So let's say that you have, because you see here in gender that you have a bunch of unknowns, right? You don't have, that's the issue. So here in dimensions, you have gender, right? Double click. So now you have the same. You have country, gender, city, age. You added all of them? Or which ones are you? Okay. Now you have both? So it's the same. Okay. So add the filter for the country and the cities for the nonsense. And I'm going to add the filter of the gender for the unknown. So I'm going to filter by the dimension gender. I want to exclude does not contain data that is unknown. And now I erase all the unknown for that, right? Why I'm doing this is basically to clean the data. So we're cleaning everything. Uh, Inside, you have to come here to metrics, open the plus, and search total users. And you just add it, okay? You can use it to compare, so I can include active users and total users. So you can compare. Okay, so I'm going to show you something that I like from yeah, I'm just cleaning the nonsense and the unknowns. Right? That's the only thing that I did. Something that we can do when I'm analyzing a bunch of data that has multiple values coming from the same place, with like country. Country, you have country, and we are seeing a lot of results coming from the US. But then we have Canada, we have a bunch of countries. So here we have one option that is called nested rows. Nested rows help us to categorize all the results by the first result. So that means that first I'm going to be seeing all the results coming from the US. Then I'm going to be seeing the results for Mountain View, then for the males, and then he will give me all the ages. And then he will go group by group. As you can see, I'm seeing the results only from the US, Mountain View, males, then females. So he's categorizing according from the first row to the last row. So in that sense, he's basically giving me first all the US, all Mountain View, all the males. Then he will go for females because it's the next row. Then you will change the city, but first he will give me all the results from the US. I'm going to add, I'm going to change the next rows. I'm going to put no. I was just showing you the example. And I'm going to add a filter just to see the results from the US. So in this case, I'm going to filter by country. Exactly match the expression United States. In that sense, we have all the results from the US. You might be thinking, okay, but why we have Mountain View twice? Why we have Mountain View in this way? It's because we have a bunch of men from different ages. So that's why you guys are seeing it divided in this way, because we're adding age, we're adding gender, so he organized the table according to those results. If I erase, I'm going to erase the gender from the row. I'm going to erase gender and age. Now you will see just only one result. But because we're adding more dimensions, you guys are going to be seeing more data, right? You guys are going to be able to analyze more things. But that depends on what we want to analyze. Reina, you have a question? I'm not doing the exercise, I was just erasing things to show you how it changed the probably the dates or the dimensions or metrics that you're using. Which dates are you using? Because
Oh.
you're using more data.
It's May 14 till December 30. Like the last,
Use
yeah.
until December.
December 31st.
That's why you're seeing, usually we have to have the same data to have the same numbers. So,
What do you want to? Oh, first, in metrics, search for total users.
I don't know why this one
First,
does interesting.
you have it already. So double click on total users.
Because we
Double
filter the
click.
nonsense, we are not
And
seeing,
then go up
because
and
remember
double
that on the
click
other
on
side we were
country
seeing
and
another
city.
That's the first one. Which one was it?
And double click on country.
Aspect.
Ah, you have it already. No, but then go
No,
to.
we were seeing the first one was aspect, but if we do it
What
in
else?
this way, it's weird.
1 second, I
Something
forgot.
is happening with that.
To nested rows and put no.
But Aspen had 0% of revenue, no?
Yeah, probably it's a
And then
nonsense,
go to the
because that's
filters.
and probably
And
that's
add
why we
one.
are not seeing.
You have this one. Do the same with city. Does not contain.
Okay, so
Thank you.
let's do the one for the money, for the items, okay? The revenue. I'm going to erase everything from the rows. I'm going to erase the values,
Everything. So we erase everything.
so we can erase.
So should we
So-
erase the filters as well or not?
Yeah, erase the filters, erase everything. Because if you let the filters stand there,
Yeah, now
you
delete
will have
everything.
issues. Another way that we can change everything is we can add a new tab.
But don't worry. I'm not prepared.
If you guys add a new tab, you'll have everything from zero. You'll have everything clean. Okay, so you can always add a new tab. And you can continue the analysis.
How can you add the new tab in the plus right there?
Here.
Oh, nice.
So now I have 3 different tabs. Okay. the monetization part. So I ask you, tell me the revenue from the merchandise store in the last 6 months, right? So if it's the last 6 months, the first thing that we need to do, change the dates, right? So we're going to be using January 1st until June 30th. Why I'm using June and not July? Because we're using whole months, right? We're using whole months to compare. So, okay, we got it. January to June. So, I told you when we were talking about products, we have to go to the dimension e-commerce, right? So I'm going to open the e-commerce dimensions, and you guys are going to be seeing that we have one name, item name. Item name is the dimension that is going to give us the name of the product that we have in the store. So I'm going to add item name, and then I have to go to metrics. I am going to click here the e-commerce metrics as well, and I'm going to add item revenue. Right. Why I'm adding item revenue and item name? Because if the dimension is named item, it matches with item revenue. Item with item.
What is item revenue?
Is the revenue coming from the product.
No, but where can we find it?
Metrics.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to add item revenue. So
Oh,
you guys are seeing that the top
Oh,
product
no.
is the campus bank, right? In terms of revenue. If we go back to metrics, again, I'm going back to metrics. I can add, I'm going to add items purchased and items viewed. Okay, items purchased and items viewed. Also, I'm going to add items added to the cart.
what is the items added?
So, items purchased, items viewed, items added to the cart.
Oh, here.
So I'm going to
Okay.
organize it, view, item to the cart, purchase, and revenue.
Items added to the cart.
So,
Added to the cart. Which is a revenue. Okay.
if you see in terms of items viewed, the product with the highest number of views is the hoodie. Is the Super G Marine hoodie. But we only sold 138 units, right? So here we can see in terms of views, how many times they are viewing that specific product. We can see how many times they added to the cart. So imagine, they saw 6,326 hoodies. They added to the cart 1,704, but they only purchased 138. So that is crazy. It should be one-on-one. But so it means that they're viewing the product. Is the product with the highest number of views.
There's something missing.
Ex-
Time to purchase.
Exactly. They're viewing it. They're adding to the cart, but then they're not purchasing.
In this case, you can see all the buyer's journey.
Exactly. That's the idea. So we can start understanding, okay, so they're viewing it, they're adding that to the cart. We're just missing the purchase. What's going on? What happened in that purchase process that is not working, right? So that's something that we have to check.
I don't know what I see like different results. I see the top results the same, but the
Because
rest
we're organizing it by a different metric. And we're organizing it by items view.
yeah, I put items viewed, add to the cart, purchase, and revenue.
No, but remember where is the arrow?
Oh, oh yeah. No, it's different anyways. The arrow is looking down.
Click again.
No. Yeah, I have the same.
So these help us, as Alexis was mentioning, to understand the customer journey. Because in order to purchase an item, you have to view it, you have to add it to the cart, and you have to purchase it. They're viewing it, they're adding it to the cart, but
They are not buying.
they're not buying it. So here we have an issue. So in that sense, with analytics, we can start checking what might be going on with our website. So this is in terms of items view. If I click in items purchase, we have the Google stickers, but imagine selling 3,405 Google stickers only make $4,000. So that is not that relevant, as we were saying. Instead, the Google Campus Bike, if we sell 449 campus bikes, we're making $20,000, right? So in that sense, if we're running a campaign, it would be much better to do it in a different way. Sometimes we are going to be seeing something like this. You guys see that we have here the Google Unisex Echo T Black.
Mm-hmm.
See the items view, zero items added to the cart, but they purchased 160.
Yeah. Why?
How is that possible? We will have to see what happened. I don't know if they created a package, so you added the first item and it was included the T. We will have to see what happened in that situation because they were not adding directly the product to the cart. They were not even doing it.
Yeah, because also in the campus bike, the items viewed is less than the items added to the cart.
Because you can add more than one.
This is only for the website, or what if they sell an ad?
In this case, this is the website. They don't have an app.
So if when you search like Google T-shirts, for example, and they see this new
Shopping.
yeah,
Shopping.
does that count? Like, or they are viewing the item anyway?
They have to do it anyway in the sense that, let's say, Google, let's find the same product. But that's a good question. So let's search Google Campus Bike. No, these are not the ones. This is the Campus Bike. So, but let's say that is one of these ones.
Yeah. Like if they go straight from here.
If the source will be the shopping, but then you have to go to the site to actually purchase because the transaction goes through the website.
That's not the case.
No, we will have to see because they sold the T-shirts, but how? I don't know. So probably they created packages
Yeah.
because if you
What do
see
you mean by packages?
Like you get the hoodie plus.
Another thing. Oh, okay,
In
maybe.
that case, they don't have to go and view the T-shirt, just the hoodie, so it's gonna
Yeah.
be added.
It's weird. Thanks.
if you see the promotion that they have right now, they have this one. So probably here we can sell them up without searching for the mug because mainly we're seeing is the hoodie. Probably we will be seeing is the hoodie. or not, because the proportion is different. But something like that might be happening for that specific case. But those are the things that we have to start seeing from analytics. What's going on? How can we sell without having products added to the cart? So those are the analyses that we have to start thinking. How can we view 6,000 products but only purchase 138? So
Yes.
the problem could be the color of the hoodie, could be something in the hoodie, right?
Or maybe the comments from the customers.
Exactly. The
Now when they are about
reviews,
to do it, it's like no.
exactly, the reviews, the size, uh,
I have a question. We're able to see this data because it's a Google website, or you can search any website and then
no,
because it's Google.
just because it's
Okay.
Google created a demo account. That's why we're able to see it.
So it's real information or not?
I don't think it's 100% real. It's real in the sense that it's coming from analytics and it's coming from a website. So it's real. But there are some numbers that I believe they manipulated. Because there is one product that has billions of items
Yeah,
viewed.
who wants to buy Google shirts?
So in that sense, I don't think it's real. But they're just testing something probably. But most of the data is coming from the website. Those ones are real, right? That's why I'm going to show you examples from other pages from my clients because in those ones it's 100%
Real, yeah.
the client. Okay? So if you see, we can add, we can go deeper and deeper according to what we want to analyze. Because I can start saying, okay, the revenue in total was 1 million. But then we can start displaying all the different things, all the different parts. So here I prefer using the Explorer techniques because it's much easier for me to correlate the data to add what I want. I can create my own custom reports. So I prefer using the Explorer techniques. So finish. You don't have to upload this part, but try to do the same exercise with this technique. Learn how to click. Try to do the exercise, the same one, with this form. You will see that it's harder than you think because you need to know the dimension and the metric that you have to add. Try. We already did the first one and the second. Dark coffee.
Yo necesito.
¿Sí? ¿Por qué?
I'm sleepy.
What happened with seven? Remember that you don't have data from the that's why you have only data from the of last year. If you want to use 2025, you can use 2025 because you're using 2024.
What do we need to do?
For that one, you will have to use May
What do we
14th.
have to do?
Okay.
We also do the same.
You got it?
Rafa.
No, no, no. For now, go to analytics and try to do the same exercise that we were doing on Wednesday.
Oh,